Good morning. I'm Noah Krasno, a member of Park Lake Youth and son of Julie and Dan Krasno, as well as the nephew of Helen and Dan Debevoise. I just graduated from Timber Creek High School this Wednesday, and I'm glad that high school is finally over. Today, I want to talk with you about what this church means to me and how it will continue to help me in the future. There are many times where just the presence of someone else can bring you to do something better, even if it's just a little. Because of this fact, not only are we able to get through global events like this pandemic, but also through everyday life. Growing up, this church was one of those resources where the people were always there for me, helping me to persevere. For instance, even though I hated waking up so early to make pancakes for Easter breakfast, it always helped remind me that putting in the effort was worth it when I got to see everyone's gratitude for something so simple. During the pandemic, I often struggled with having to stay inside all the time in order to protect my family. In doing so, with school being online and having distractions easily available, both my parents helped keep me on track whenever I was struggling. Because of this, despite this year being difficult, I was able to persevere through school. Growing up with the church, it made it so I was able to get through all kinds of situations, like having the patience to listen to people's problems, being able to get through tough times at school, or even just being able to move through the day. Because of that, I also ended up gaining all kinds of valuable memories and lessons that I can take with me into the future. Starting with Vacation Bible School, while I struggled to remember much from attending as a kid myself, I still remember helping out with making snacks, teaching kids in the science room, and playing with them during activities in more recent years. Then there's Cedar Creek, where not only did we do things like ziplining and archery, but also helped out at Bethel. Finally, there's Montreat, a place where I've climbed the same mountain too many times to count, danced to the same songs in a filled auditorium with strangers in multiple years, and even performed on stage with other youth. These places, activities, and memories are not only something that I enjoyed, but helped me and many others to persevere through the struggle that is everyday life. These events are special not only because we set out to help others, but also in the sense that they set aside time for us to enjoy ourselves. Thinking about this led me to understand that it's not just me who has to persevere through things, but also everyone else who is going through their lives that is persevering as well. That's why it's okay to lean on others, because if standing on your own is hard for you, it might be hard for them to stand alone as well. Most of the time, when people think of perseverance, they think of what a singular person has to do to get through a situation. They use any and every tool, barely scraping their way through a situation. That's the common perception that requires someone to persevere. However, this past year has shattered that perspective due to the shared problem that is COVID-19. Even though there are a lot of separate things that happen for many different families all over the world, they all stem from the same root. Due to this fact, the church, school, and just the general public came together to persevere for everyone's sake, not just their own. It's not just directly helping others that helps our community persevere either. Setting examples is one of the fundamental ways that allow people to have strength to move forward. Because oftentimes, doing something that hasn't been done before can seem much harder than doing something that you know can be done. One of the best examples of this is how we follow Jesus Christ. Jesus lived through thick and thin for us. It didn't matter if someone ridiculed him. It didn't matter if someone didn't believe in him. It didn't matter if the world wasn't always kind to him. Yet despite all of that, he continued to set example after example, being selfless, caring, compassionate to anyone and everyone. As stated in the Message translation of Hebrews 12, verses 1 to 3, do you see what this means? All these pioneers who blazed the way, all these veterans cheering us on, it means we'd better get on with it. Strip down, start running, and never quit. No extra spiritual fat, no parasitic sins. Keep your eyes on Jesus, who both began and finished this race we're in. Study how he did it, because he never lost sight of where he was headed. That exhilarating finish in and with God. He could put up with anything along the way, cross, shame, whatever. And now he's there, in the place of honor, right alongside God. When you find yourselves flagging in your faith, go over that story again, item by item. That long litany of hostility he plowed through, that will shoot adrenaline into your souls. This passage tells us why we struggle. We struggle and persevere, not because it's easy, but precisely because it is hard. If doing the right thing was easy, everyone would always do it. But even knowing how hard it was, it gives us hope and courage to know that there were pioneers who blazed the way for us. First and foremost, Jesus, who still set out to become an example of how we should conduct ourselves. That's the kind of future I want to lead for myself. I have to keep learning, keep moving, and trudge along a thorny path if I have to, in order to be the person I want to be. And I don't do it alone. Because of everything that has happened in the past, I'm able to look forward to a future as bright as I can think of. Speaking of the future, I'm now graduated from Timber Creek High, and my plan is to attend the University of South Florida in the fall. While some people might go on about how they're nervous because they won't know anybody at college, or they don't know what their future holds in general, I would say I'm rather looking forward to it. College is like a blank canvas right now. While it may seem overwhelming that there's so much work to do in order to paint it all, I'm excited to start painting my first brushstrokes. And I think the reason for that is because of the youth leaders such as Alice, Matt, Aaron, Elizabeth, Justin, Meredith, Brett, and Tony, as well as my Aunt Helen, Uncle Dan, Mom, Dad, Nathan, and the rest of the youth and everyone else who has continued to support me, so I can set out and be able to discover things on my own. I don't think I'll ever disregard the help of others just because I'm going off to college, but I think that persevering through my life with this church has made me who I am.